person who wants to get married because he wants to remain modest and chaste. وَالْمُكَاتِبْ يُرِيدُ الْأَدَاء. And that mukatib, the person who's a slave and he's working, he's on a contract to get out of his slavery, it is a haqq upon Allah to help that person. And the last person, وَالْغَازِي فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, and that person who goes out and fights in the path of Allah. It is a haqq upon Allah to help those three people. Right? So, if they are poor, Allah will find a way for them and make them independent. وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. And Allah is wasi' in His knowledge, encompassing. Alim is knowing of people's intentions and why they get married and why they stay single, etc. So that's the ultimate solution from that sin that we were talking about, and this whole surah was talking about. How about those who cannot find any marriage and they're unable to get married, whatever the reason it is? Maybe they don't have the money, or they don't have, whatever it might be. There's one Sahabi in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. He came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, nobody wants to marry me. What he said was, am I going to get married in Jannah, or the Hurul Ain for me? Meaning, no one in this world is giving me anyone to marry, so is it only in the Akhirah? So there are some people, whatever it might be, that they're unable to get married. So what should they do? Allah says, وَلْيَسْتَعْفِفْ. Let them be modest and keep their chastity and stay away from this sin as much as they can. They have to. وَلْيَسْتَعْفِفْ الَّذِينَ لَا يَجِدُونَ نِكَاحًا. Those who are unable to get married, let them stay afif, with chastity and modesty. حَتَّى يُغْنِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. Until Allah Azza wa Jal makes them ghani, until Allah Azza wa Jal makes them financially independent out of His mercy and out of His fadl. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, تَزَوَّجُوا يَا مَعْشَرَ الشَّبَابِ تَزَوَّجُوا. O young people, get married. If you can't, then he should fast. That's a way of keeping chaste, right? When do these shahawat and these things come in people? When they don't have any need, they don't have any inner needs, especially physical needs. If you stay hungry the whole day, you think you're going to have those shahawat? So one of the things the Prophet ﷺ prescribed is stay hungry, fast. So do whatever you have to do to keep yourself afif until Allah makes you ghani. And وَالَّذِينَ يَبْتَغُونَ الْكِتَابَ مِمَّا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. And if you have slaves under you, and like we said, some slaves, or all slaves, they have the right to get into a contract with you and say, I'll give you this much money and let me be free. So it becomes a contract, like every month, he will give you this much money. So Allah says, if they want to do that, يَبْتَغُونَ الْكِتَابَ, they want you to do mukataba from your slaves, فَكَاتِبُوهُم, then do that. Get into a contract with them in a way that they'll be free. إِنْ عَلِمْتُمْ فِيهِمْ خَيْرًا. If you think there's goodness in them, they're good people, they're honest people, they don't have any bad intentions of being freed, right? وَآتُوهُمْ مِنْ مَالِ اللَّهِ الَّذِي آتَاكُمْ. And give them from the wealth, مَالِ اللَّهِ, the wealth that Allah gave you, give them from that. Be kind towards them, right? Spend on them. وَلَا تُكْرِهُ فَتَيَاتِكُمْ عَلَى الْبِغَاءِ. Also, the female slaves that you have under you, don't force them to do bigha. It's like use them as objects, send them out in the city, use them, put them out for rent, and then earn money by them. Don't do that. It's haram. This was a practice in Mecca and also in Medina. Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, he was one of those who used to do that. So don't force them to do such an evil sin. In aradna tahassunan, especially if they want to keep themselves chaste. You don't have the right to do that. That's their human right. They don't want to do that, don't force them to do that. لِتَبْتَقُوا عَرَضَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Just because you want some things of this world, just because you want some extra money, just because you want some passive income coming in every month, don't do that. Don't force people to do immoral stuff. وَمَن يُكْرِهُنَّ. And whoever they force them to do such acts, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ مِن بَعْدِ إِكْرَاهِهِنَّ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. And Allah knows that this person was forced to do that. Allah is Ghafur, Allah is Rahim. Is not going to hold him accountable for that, because he was forced to do that. Similarly, when it comes with Iman, if someone is forced to give up their Iman, then Allah knows that this person was forced. But if a person does it openly, willingly, then it counts. Right? That's why when the fitna of Khalqul Quran came, when Khalifa al-Ma'mun, he was forcing everybody to say the Quran is a makhluq. Say the Quran was created. That's against Aqidah, right? It's the speech of Allah. You can't say it's created. It's the speech of Allah, right? So he was forcing them, he was punishing, abusing, harassing, and persecuting those scholars who said the Quran is not makhluk. So there are some scholars who are like, you know what, we were forced to do it, we're just going to say it's makhluk and it's created, and that's it. And just because they wanted to get out of that punishment. Some came with some tricks and they said that the Quran, the Zabur, the Torah, and the Injil, these four are created. And they were talking about these four fingers, and not the Quran and all those revealed books, but rather these four fingers, right? So if you're forced to renounce your iman or some part of your aqidah, if you're forced to do that, then it's okay, Allah knows. Allah will forgive after you are being forced to do something. وَلَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكُمْ آيَاتٍ مُبَيِّنَاتٍ وَمَثَلًا مِنَ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ وَمَوْعِظَةً لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Allah says, we have revealed unto you clear verses and signs that tell you halal and haram, clear as the day, right? Broad light, is clear. And also mathalan, also examples of those people who've passed before you. And this Quran is an admonition, is an advice for the muttaqeen. And so we talked about a whole chapter of this huge sin and a lot of aspects about the sin. Now it's a different topic that's going to talk about an example Allah gives of the nur of Allah. We have all these evil people, and then now we have people who Allah guided them through His nur. So what is that nur, right? Allah nur as-samawati wal ard. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. What is that? It's a famous verse. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. What is light? If everything went dark right now, we would probably go walk into a wall or something, right? So light is a guidance, right? We use light to guide ourselves. So Allah is the guide of whoever is in the heavens and whoever is in the earth. Allah is the guide to all of those inhabitants, whether they're in the heavens or in the earth or under the water, wherever they might be. When that light is given to someone, when Allah grants and gifts and confers that light upon someone, then what happens? What's the example of that? What's the example of that light? مَثَلُ نُورِهِ. The example of his light is like what? How pure that light is. This whole verse we're going to talk about that. So it gets a little detailed, but just stay with me, inshallah. The example of Allah's nur is kamishkatin, is a mishkat. It's like a mishkat. Mishkat is a niche, is an indent in a wall. Back in the days they used to do this. Walls used to have a hollow space, a hole in them, and in there they used to put a light. And from that, the light used to glow to the whole room. They didn't have these bulbs and stuff like that. But if you put it in that space, it used to kind of glow into the whole room, opposed to just holding it here. So that's a niche. So it's like a niche. Fiha misbah, in that niche is a light. Okay, you have a light in there. Al-misbahu fi zujaja, and that light is in a glass, pure glass. Az-zujajatu, and that glass, ka'annaha kawkabun durriyun. That glass, where the light is in, that glass is so pure, so bright, and so shiny, it's like a bright star in the sky. Ka'annaha kawkabun, that pure and see-through and clear that glass is. And so you have this light, right? How can light be ignited? Nowadays you have electricity, but back in the days there was no electricity. There had to be oil under that light. Zayt, right? Oil. So this light is being ignited, yuqadu is being ignited from what oil? Oil comes from trees, right? Olive oil. So that oil comes from min shajaratin mubarakah. That oil is not just any oil. It's a very pure, refined oil. It comes from shajaratin mubarakah, from a blessed tree, zaytuna, olive tree. It comes from a blessed olive tree. And not just any tree, the one that's on the side of the forest or in the middle of the forest, where it's all surrounding that tree is other trees and maybe it doesn't get enough sunlight. No, it's not that kind of tree. It's such a tree, la sharqiyya wa la gharbiyya. It's not all the way in the far east of the forest, nor is it all the way in the far west of the forest. If it was all the way in the east, then it would be blocked off. Half the day it would be blocked off, right? When the sun is rising, it's all the way here, and the tree is here. Half day it wouldn't get the light. On the other day, on this other part of the day, when the sun is setting, then it would get light. Similarly, if it's on the other end, if the sun is coming out, we only get half day of the light. You guys get what I'm saying? So it's not all the way in the east, nor all the way in the west. Some scholars say it's on top of a mountain, where And there's nothing else besides it. It gets all the light of the sun from the beginning of the day until the end of the day. That's why olive trees, when they plant olive trees, they try to separate and keep space between each one, because you want that tree to get as much sunlight as possible, right? Because the less sunlight it gets, the weaker the oil you get out of it will be, right? So the oil that's used to lit up that light, it comes from such a tree that gets the sunlight day and night all the time as much as possible. So that oil is going to be very strong, very refined, very pure, very sparkly, very pure oil. So imagine the light that comes out of that. What kind of oil is it? That oil is so pure and refined that it's about to ignite without even touching the fire. You bring the fire to it, then it will burn, right? But this oil is so clean and pure, you bring fire close to it, it's about to catch that fire. It's highly inflammable, right? Because the oil is so pure. Even if the fire doesn't touch it, it's about to ignite, it's about to burn. So that oil, when it's refined and pure, when it meets that lamp, that oil, when it's so refined and pure, when it meets that lamp, boom, you get this fire, right? So that is the nurun ala nur. That is the light upon light. We'll talk about what's this talking. This is the translation. And later on, we'll talk about what he's talking about, right? So nurun ala nur. So now, what is going on? What is the example of all of these things? The mishkat, the niche, is like the chest cavity that a person has in their chest. There's a hollow space in your chest where the heart lies, and that's known as the fu'ad. The heart isn't just there floating around. It's protected by your bones and all of that's there. So that hollow space is the mishkat. When the iman comes in the heart of a person, the light comes in the heart of a person, we're talking about that heart. So mishkat, it's in a niche. It's in a hollow space. Fiha misbah, in that niche is a light, and that light is the heart. And al-misbahu fi zujada, and the heart is in a glass. And what is that glass? That glass is the fitrah a person is born with. Fitrah. Every person is born on a fitrah. And then after that, their parents make them into whatever else, Christian or Nasara or Yahudi, whatever it might be. But every person is yuladu al fitra, on pure nature, right? And they're able to accept pureness. So that al-misbah fi zujada, the heart is in that glass. And that glass is so pure and so bright that Allah Azza wa Jalla creates every person upon that fitrah. And so what is that oil? What is the example of the oil? The example of the oil is the soul of a person. The soul of a person. Every soul has goodness in them, right? Every soul has goodness in them. Sometimes people say that I feel empty, right? What is that? That's the soul. There's just emptiness in that soul, right? People who are not guided, right? They don't have iman. They don't have that outer light, the light of wahi, the light of revelation, the light of Allah. Iman, they don't have that in them. But sometimes their souls are good, and sometimes they might say, I feel like I feel like I'm lost. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing in life, right? Because that's the goodness in the soul that hasn't met the iman, the light of Allah, right? So when that soul finally gets to meet that light of Allah Azza wa Jalla, which is the iman, then you have what? Nurun ala nur. Then you have the light of that soul that meets the light of iman. That's when you have nurun ala nur. Okay? Yahdillahu li nurihi man yasha. Allah guides whomsoever He wants to His iman, to His nur, to His guidance. Allah guides whoever He wants to His nur. وَيَضْرِبُ اللَّهُ الْأَمْثَالَ لِلنَّاسِ, and Allah strikes examples for people so that they can benefit. وَاللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٍ, and Allah is about all things, all knowing. Is there anything unclear about this example that you would like to clarify? Okay. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال. In the houses of Allah, في بيوت, in homes, أذن الله, Allah has given permission, أن ترفع, that His house be elevated. What does elevated mean? It either means the masjid of Allah should be elevated, made high, they should be distinct, easy to find. That's why a lot of masajid have long minarets and so they can stand out. Or it also means it should be above the influence of people. It should be above the influence of politics, of greed, of jealousy. Right? فِي بُيُوتٍ أَذِنَ اللَّهُ. So just like a heart should be cleansed and purified, just like that, a masjid is like the heart of the town, of the city. That masjid should be purified, should be checked from all sort of evil things, because that's where people come to strengthen their hearts. So in such houses, Allah has given permission that that house should be elevated, and وَيُذْكَرَ فِيهَا اسْمُهُ, and Allah, His name should be mentioned in it. يُسَبِّحُ لَهُ فِيهَا, people do tasbih in it, بِالْغُدُوِّ وَالْعَصَىٰ, in the morning and in the evening. That's the purpose of the masjid. Who are the people that do the tasbih of Allah in the masjid? رِجَالٌ, such men. رِجَالٌ لَا تُلْهِهِمْ تِجَارٌ, no business distracts these people, right? وَلَا بَيْعٌ, nor any sales. Well, you might say, isn't sales part of business? Well, business has a lot of things, right? A business has tax to do, a business has where they have to give out their payrolls to the employees. Business has a lot of things. But the most juicy part of a business is what? Is sales. Bay'a is when you're making that money, that income, that revenue is coming in. So business doesn't distract them, neither does buying and selling distract them, right? So the iqamah is called, and someone comes to the store and they filled up their whole cart with different items, and you're just watching. What do you do at that time, right? Do you just wait because you got to buy those things and you make that money? He even took that thing from the shelf that was sitting there for months. He bought it, you put it in his cart. What do you do, right? Do you close up the shop and come to the masjid? Or do you tell him, I'll see you later or something like that, right? In many countries, they have Sharia police and all that, and they come and say in the mic that you have to close your shops and whatnot. But those things are forced. People have to do it out of their own will, right? Sometimes people close the shop and they're just inside sitting down taking a break. So they use it as a break or something, right? But it's that should come out of Iman and your own faith and conviction, right? So such men come to the masjid, the tijara doesn't distract them, nor any sale distract them from the dhikr of Allah, or from establishing prayer, or giving zakat. يَخَافُونَ, they fear a day, تَتَقَلَّبُ فِي الْقُلُوبِ, their hearts will be shaken, وَالْأَبْصَارُ, and the eyes. They fear that day, another day of judgment. لِيَجْزِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنَ مَا عَمِلُوا, so that Allah can reward them based on the best action they did. We hear this a lot. أَحْسَنَ مَا عَمِلُوا, so that Allah can reward the best of what they did. What is the best? Everything else is not rewarded? No, it means Allah will reward you based on the best act you might have done. Right? Every day you pray, but maybe there was one salah out of the whole year. You had so much khushu in that salah. You understood every letter and every word of that salah. You cried after that salah. Your reward will be based on that one, right? Not average. You take the highest and the lowest and the average is given to you. No. Your mark is the highest mark you get, that's your mark, right? Imagine you take 5 tests in your school, and the teacher says the highest one, I'm going to give you, that's going to be your average for the whole semester. It doesn't work like that, right? But Allah is Kareem. Allah has no limits to His mercy. So He will give you based on the best action that you did. On top of that, وَيَزِيدَهُم مِّن فَضْلِهِ, He will even increase out of His mercy and out of His fadl. Maybe there are some things, some actions you couldn't do. Allah will make you do that to reach that level too out of His mercy and fadl. وَاللَّهُ يَرْزُقُ مَن يَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ, and Allah gives whomever He wants without any accountability, without counting how much He gives. If Allah started counting, so that's the first group of people, right? Those group of people who Allah has given them His nur, they're believers, they have iman, and will be rewarded to a high level in the Day of Judgment. And then you have, there's 3 groups. The first group is the people with iman. The second group are good people, but they don't have iman. And the third group are bad people who have no iman as well. So now we're going to talk about the middle group. The people who do good are good people, but they don't have iman. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, and those who do kufr. They do a lot of good things at the same time. They don't have iman, they give charity and contribute. Like the Australian fire right now, I just read today, this one guy, he donated like $49.1 million. He donated all of that. to stop the fire in Australia. But they have kufr in their heart. They don't have iman. So what about them? Their actions, أعمالهم, their actions is like what? كَسَرَابٍ بِقِيعًا. Sharab means drink. Sharab means drink. Sarab, with the scene, something that looks like a sharab, but it's not sharab, it's sarab. In the desert, right? People who are really in need of water and thirst, sometimes there's a mirage. I don't know if you see it here, but in Saudi you see it all the time. All the time you see this thing. You're driving in the highway, you know, after class. Yeah, Morichika in Bangla. You're driving in a long road, and I can swear so many times I'm thinking there's water in the front. But it's not. It's just out of the heat you think it's water. It's not really water. But you're like, no, this is water. It's water. I can see it with my own eyes. You see it. But it's not really water. So their actions is like sarabin biqi'ah. It's like this mirage by a piece of land from far away. يَحْسَبُهُ الظَّمْآنُ. The person who's thirsty, he thinks it's water. He's running out of water. He's thirsty. He's going crazy. And he thinks it's water. But then when he goes there, it's not water. It was just mirage. So all of the good deeds he have done in this world, in the akhirah, he might think, I'm going to get the reward of this, and I'm gonna do this and do that, but then he finds out everything is finished, nothing, dust, right? حتى إذا جاءه, until he comes to that, لم يجد شيئا, he finds nothing there. ووجد الله عنده, and he finds Allah there. فوفاه حسابه, and Allah gives his hisab completely, in full. Whatever he did, Allah will give that back in full. Wallahu Sari'ul Hisab, and Allah is quick to do that. He's swift in taking accountability. So that's the second group of people who do good deeds but they don't have iman. Now the third type of people. أَوْ كَظُلُمَاتٍ فِي بَحْرٍ لُجِّيٍّ يَغْشَاهُ. The example of those people is like a man who's in ظُلُمَات فِي بَحْرٍ, who's in very darkness in the sea. There's a lot of darkness, it's very dark, you can't see, and he's in the sea. What kind of bahr? Bahrin lujjiyin. It's an unending bahr, unending sea. It's a vast ocean. Every time you wake up, is the land here? No, land is not here. Every day, is the land here? No, it's an unending bahr. He's there, it's nighttime, it's dark. يَغْشَاهُ مَوْجٌ مِّن فَوْقِهِ. A wave comes and covers him. Before he can recover, another wave comes and covers him. يَغْشَاهُ مَوْجٌ مِّن فَوْقِهِ مَوْجٌ. Waves after wave comes and covers. Before he can recover, another wave comes. Min fawqihi sahab. On top of those waves are what? Are dense clouds. So you might think, oh, nighttime is dark, but maybe the moonlight is there and he can see. No. There's dark, cloudy, dense clouds that are there on top of those waves, and he's unable to see anything. That's the type of darkness and dalala and misguidance he's in. ظُلُمَاتٌ بَعْضُهَا فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ. Darkness on top of darkness. Darkness on top of darkness. Before we did what? Nurun ala nur. Light upon light. Here is darkness upon darkness. That's how lost he is. So much dark. إِذَا أَخْرَجَ يَدَهُ. When he takes his hand out, لَمْ يَكَدْ يَرَاهُ. He's barely able to see it's his own hand. It's so close to him, but he can't even make out his hand. That's how lost he is. And sometimes when people's hearts are filled with sins and they're so lost, you tell them something that's so obvious, like, brother, you're doing this wrong. It's like your hand in front of you, you're able to see. But he says, no, it's not even my hand. Like, no, that's not wrong. What I'm doing is correct. Because of that level of darkness that they have in their heart. They are unable to decipher and see what's right in front of them. Right? وَمَنْ لَمْ يَجْعَلِ اللَّهُ لَهُ نُورًا فَمَا لَهُ مِنْ نُورٍ. And whomsoever Allah does not give them the light, doesn't make the light for them, then he will have no light. And Allah gives hidayah to whomsoever He wants. And then some of the qudra and miracle and strength and might of Allah Azza wa Jal. أَلَمْ تَرَ أَنَّ اللَّهِ. Don't you see that يُسَبِّحُ لَهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Whatever's in the heavens, whatever's in the earth, all are doing tasbih to Allah Azza wa Jal. وَالطَّيْرُ صَافَّاتٍ. And the birds are floating. That's their tasbih. As long as they're doing what Allah Azza wa Jalla told them to do, that is their tasbih. As long as they're not going out of the command of Allah, they're doing their ibadah. The sun and the moon, Allah Azza wa Jalla commanded them to go in a certain speed, in a certain direction and whatnot. They're doing what they're told. That's their ibadah. Right? كُلٌّ قَدْ عَلِمَ صَلَاتُهُ وَتَسْبِيحًا. All of these things, they know their salah, they know their tasbih. The question is, do we know our tasbih? Do we know our salah? Right? وَاللَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِمَا يَفْعَلُونَ. And Allah knows all what they do. All the things that they do. يَفْعَلُونَ. There's a difference between يَفْعَلُونَ and يَعْمَلُونَ. يَفْعَلُونَ is the things that you do subconsciously, like blinking, or breathing, or seeing, or listening. But يَعْمَلُونَ is the thing that you do consciously, like looking. You see without trying, but looking at something, that's a amal. That's voluntarily, consciously you do. Hearing is you do whether you want to or not, you will hear. But listening, you do that out of your own will. Right? So Allah knows all the things, the birds and all those things that to do. Sometimes we make our amal into failure. Like the ibadah we do, tasbih we do, we're supposed to do them consciously. Subhanallah, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. But sometimes we make them into action, just subhanallah, alhamdulillah, just look around, but we don't have our heart in it, we're just doing it involuntarily. So when it came to the animals, Allah said Allah knows what they do, the thing that they subconsciously do. They don't have the intention of doing what they're doing. They're just created to do that, they're doing that. وَلِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And to Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. وَإِلَى اللَّهِ الْمَصِيرُ. And to Allah everyone will return. There's a couple of more verses, inshallah, and just two more verses. Don't you see, أَلَمْ تَرَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ يُجْرِي سَحَابًا. Don't you see that Allah moves the clouds? ثُمَّ يُؤَلِّفُ بَيْنَهُ. Then He gathers them together. ثُمَّ يَجْعَلُهُ رُكَامًا. Then He makes layers of clouds. Right? The Sahaba didn't really see layers of clouds, but we can see layers of clouds. When you fly on an airplane, sometimes we see clouds above us, clouds under us. Sometimes when we're going down, descending, we break through clouds and then some other levels of clouds. So Allah, don't you see the miracle of Allah, how He pushes clouds from all the way from Florida that comes to New York and then it becomes rain? Who's moving that? Don't you see how Allah packs up, gathers clouds together and then makes layers upon them? فَتَرَى الْوَدْقَ يَخْرُجُ مِنْ خِلَالٍ. Then you see rain coming down from those clouds. وَيُنَزِّلُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مِنْ جِبَالٍ فِيهَا مِنْ بَرْدٍ. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla, He sends down light rain and He also sends down heavy rains. From that rain, you have hailstones, right? Those things. You have hailstones that come down from those rain that looks like they're coming down from the mountains. And then from those things, فَيُصِيبُ بِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. He hits and targets whoever He wants with those hailstones. وَيَصْرِفُ عَنْ مَن يَشَاءُ. And He turns away from whomsoever He wants. Sometimes it's so big it goes through car windshields and whatnot, right? And people can die from those things as well. So He brings all those things down from the sky. يَكَادُ السَّمَاءُ بَرْقِهِ يَذْهَبُ بِالْأَبْصَارِ. The brightness of the lightning that you see sometimes, it's about to take away your eyes. How bright that lightning is. You look at it and for like 3 seconds you can't see. And slowly it goes away. So these are just some of the miracles and some of the qudra of Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned in these verses. Inshallah we'll stop here today and continue from the next verse the next time we meet, inshallah, next Sunday. Jazakumullah khairan for sitting and listening. Allah Azza wa Jalla will write all of this in our scale of good deeds. Jazakumullah khairan.